Okay, hello guys. It's quite cold here today, but thank you for coming. Probably there is kind of conference at the other room. That's why we are here. That's interesting. Another thing, as for the attendance of the classes, the fewer people are in the class, the more home tasks I get to check. So it seems like it's, I don't know, easier or more valuable for you to do the home tasks watching the video lectures. So today we will discuss with you different tools for visualization. Of course, in various fields of study, we use different tools, different methods of graphs, tables, and so on. So we will focus with you first of all on the so-called BI systems and open libraries that can be used in addition to PowerPoint or Excel to visualize materials. Then we will discuss with you the methods of visualization, of course concerning linguistic research, text analytics. And in addition, we will touch upon SQL language as one of the tools for BI tasks. Nevertheless, that's not included in your home task. At home, I will ask you to use one of the methods of visualization to draw a graph or a chart based on your linguistic analysis. And in general, we will conclude with you discussing your projects, your final projects, because it's already December. And after this class, this Friday, you will get not only the task after this lecture, but also the project task will be opened for you to have 2 weeks to complete it. Before the last class, that would be on the 18th of December, when you will get the credits, I hope. Of course, during that lecture, we will discuss something, so there are 2 more topics to be discussed, but they are not included in your project. So you already have the opportunity to start the project on Friday, and so we will discuss once again what you are obliged to do there within the project. Okay, but before we generalize, before we try to figure out the tools and the methods for visualization, our task today is to try to come to something better, because we have some data based on your project here as well. But sometimes, especially when I looked through through your tasks number 9, it's not your fault, but as for the corpus manager, a few of the results, they look like the second picture, especially if the stop words are not taken away or something like it. So our aim is to make your visualized materials of your projects closer to the first type. And as for the corpus analysis, I came across twice the same thing, that that's interesting, that the corpus manager figured out more distinctive words among the articles in one language, in English, than compared to articles in Russian. Perhaps it knows something more. Okay, so in general, of course, an image is normally used, kind of an image, to get the easiest and the fastest idea of something, to make it quicker. For example, my mom, who is a teacher now, she's retired, but she worked as a teacher for the whole of her life, and while she was a student, once she was asked to visualize something, and so she just took the chalk and draw this. What do you think, in context of learning English as a foreign language, what might it be? No, it doesn't matter. In fact, it could be like this. I don't know exactly what was it. Okay. Any other suggestions? She said that this is a pin. So that was an illustration of a pin. So that was how she tried to visualize something as a pedagogical student. And I don't know, but probably it was accepted because she worked as a teacher for many years afterwards. And anyway, when trying to explain something, we always try to use some visualized materials. And nowadays, within the last 20 years, we all are so digitalized that it's mainly easier for most people to get the information, to get the data from the images, from the videos, in comparison to just texts. What about you? What do you prefer if you need to learn something new or to get deeper into a subject? What do you normally search for? Do you search for a text, an article, a blog post on something, or do you prefer to watch a video, a tutorial? I don't know. What is easier?
If it's a new topic, then first we'll look at some text, a short description of it, based on what you understood from the text. Then there are options.
Okay. I do believe that when we here communicate with you at the university, we all tend to read a little at least, yeah? If I ask this question to, I don't know, school students, for example, I tried to ask them, they all prefer, of course, video materials, short videos, TikTok or something like it. In general, these are the 10 main principles of visualization. So first of all, of course, we deal with colors. By the way, if we speak about colors in presentations, normally how many colors do designers choose for a presentation?
3 or 4?
Basically 2 and 1 or 2 in addition. Of course, we can use different fonts, different shapes, to different icons, to visualize something, to emphasize something. I would say that the last point here, which is space, is very important because probably we all know that if, for example, in the class, the pupils or students lose attention, it's better to make a pause in contrast to shouting or crying or whatever, yeah? And the same thing happens nowadays with visualized materials. Sometimes the space is even more important than a lot of symbols because I know a few people who prefer a lot of symbols at any tables or slides or whatever. But in general, nowadays, of course, we all tend to minimalize all the illustrative materials. So images, of course, the first thing if we speak about illustrations nowadays that comes to our mind. So there are a few articles and research concerning images, and normally they classify using images as 3 categories. Lexical replacement, when we use an image instead of a phrase or a few words. Necessary addition, for example, the first meaning of images is to add some emotions, yeah, our attitude towards something, the thing which is normally lost if the text is generated by AI, yeah, all the emotions, personal relation or personal attitude to something and so on. But of course there are a lot of images used as redundant additions, so they do not in fact bring a lot of meaning. However, most of us tend to overuse images. So what do you think, or what is the percentage approximately between the redundant addition and necessary or replacement ones? What about redundancy? What do you think? What is the percentage of the images that are used just for the sake of it?
10%
Okay. Okay, right, fine. So let us discuss in more detail images, and then I will share the results with you of this research. So would you now in pairs discuss what do you use images for? Redundant, lexical replacement, or emotions? Then you can check up what are your top favorite ones and compare if you have the same ones, and which types of modern visual content irritate you, because we're all surrounded by them. So would you discuss those three questions in pairs now? So take a minute. Okay, fine. So shall we share the results? Let's start from the last question. So what types of modern visual content irritate you? I don't know, GIFs, images, short videos. Or is everything fine when you are surrounded by all those illustrative things?
The AI generated images. At first it was fun, now we everywhere.
Okay, yeah, true. Fine, what else?
What about you?
As for me, I do not like GIFs at all. I don't know why, but I have always been irritated by them. Although I overuse typical images in every message. That's like, and absolutely, they are absolutely redundant with me, because mostly I have this one or this one or this one. And this is my three top, and so it doesn't make much sense. But still, I overuse them. However, I don't like GIFs at all. Anything else to share? So AI generated pictures, what else do you consider as irritating?
There's nothing that can irritate. All types can be funny and all types can be very boring and annoying.
Yeah, that's true. It's quite personal. That's right. Okay, in fact, again, for those who have just come, we started with this research devoted to images. So they say that we can classify all the use of images as three types: for lexical replacement, when we use a picture instead of a word or a phrase; for necessary addition, so normally this is about our emotions or attitudes towards something; and finally redundant addition. So we had something like 90%. The idea was, the suggestion was that 90% of images might be considered as redundant. So as for the newcomers, what do you think? What is the percentage of the redundant images that do not bring any meaning? Okay.
Images like flowers in messages from the stores.
Yes, something like it might be. Yeah. So what do you think? What is the percentage of useful ones and useless?
There is a division in generation of people. 30% of redundant.
Okay, so from 30 to 90, according to research, around 60% is redundant. And as for lexical replacement, just 10% is used, 30% for quite a normal thing for the first meaning of images, to share emotions and attitudes. Right, so now let's discuss the tools that we can use in our research to visualize the data, the raw data that we have. So of course we all use, first of all, since school, PowerPoint and Excel to draw some graphs and so on. In addition, normally so-called business intelligence systems are used to visualize huge amounts of data. They're not free in most cases. That is why I do suggest that here today we discuss a few open libraries. In fact, we will focus mainly on Matplotlib as the most basic one. And Seaborn, it's kind of an addition to Matplotlib to draw some more sophisticated graphs. And so those libraries, they help visualize the materials of your research. It is true both for linguistic research that we are doing within the course, and of course you might use them for your research as well. So what is, I do believe, even more important in terms of visualization, not just the tools, but the methods that stand behind this or that illustration. Because if we use inconvenient illustration, inconvenient graph for some data, it might get it even harder to understand, to get the idea. So here there are two main things. First of all, we need to bear in mind that any illustration, it might be either giving the general idea or filtering some of the data, because of course we cannot, for example, publish in an article all the data, all the results that we have. Or there might be just some details kind of underlined in a graph or something. So bearing this in mind, normally we follow the 3 steps. So first of all, sometimes we start with the last step, and that's a bit misleading, because we might have the idea that, okay, I want to emphasize this or that from the research, for example, some kind of frequent words if we speak about linguistic methods or whatever. But our audience or the reader might not have the same pattern on their mind, and so the image would be just misleading. So better first to filter the data, then trying to find some kind of connections, and only then trying to zoom to figure out what you want to underline by this or that graph or illustration. So what about your research fields? What types of visualization are normally used in the articles from your research fields? I don't know, tables, just schemes, graphs, charts. What is more convenient for you? Yeah, you're welcome.
I think that in my research area, the graphs like we use can show some events, some correlations in my field, and also some tables also can be used. For example, when we make in the end of the semester, when we show our results. With presentations, we are asked not to use many tables because they are difficult to be read. Because in the graph you will see the whole picture. In the table you need to look at the numbers and understand in the articles some tables should be used because we can't show information without them. Maybe the numbers are important, but in the presentations and in the articles also mostly the graphs are used.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Psychologically, only use tables for showing the p-value and values of coefficients like experiment periods. And sometimes we use graphs for difficult connections in different levels of independent values. But we don't use other graphics.
Okay. Because as for me, it was just quite personal, but in my PhD thesis, I overused tables. I don't know why, but I just got stick to them, and all my presentation at the defense, it was made out of tables. I don't know how they dealt with it and how did I manage to defend it. Because yeah, it's of course we shouldn't overuse this or that type. They should add each other. Right, so let us look in more detail and compare those charts and plots in general, having the samples of code in the notebook. And also we will of course try to figure out how we can use those charts and plots for your projects, for the linguistic research. So let me now share, show the code snippets, as the internet is not fast here. Probably you will try them out already at home, but just you're welcome to have a look now. Let me now change the okay, probably this is readable. So the easiest way is to draw a kind of line chart. If we have two variables, normally we can use it like here, quite easy way, yeah, to compare that the longer the distance, the longer the time normally. So as for the linguistic research, which kind of method that we discussed with you can be illustrated by line charts?
Which demonstrates how much some word is used in different articles.
Yeah, exactly. So for a diachronic analysis, how the word unit is used within the time, of course we normally draw kind of line charts. Yeah, the line chart. So normal, probably for your project you will use this part for this sample for drawing timelines for the most frequent terms that you come across in your articles. You can either use the line charts from Google Ngram Viewer, like in the home task, or you can use here, in most cases, as mentioned before, I would use Matplotlib library, and NumPy and Pandas are used in addition for those easy calculations of plots. Right, so additionally to line charts, they might be colored if we need to compare the volume behind this or that variable. And so here we can draw an area chart. This one illustrates the coverage of raining and snowing. That makes sense in terms of values. As for the histograms or bar charts, what do you think in terms of our project? Where can we use them? For which kind of data?
Not qualitative data.
Which is not qualitative then, from the linguistic research? What is quantitative there? So what can we use these histograms? Easy, just bar charts in our project for. So what can be illustrated with a bar chart?
What's the difference between this one and the other one?
The previous one?
Just the other one is a line and this one is...
Yeah. So normally if we use the line charts, at least in our project, it's quite reasonable to show with a line the kind of timeline how this or that lexical units are used within a period of time. But if we speak about bar charts, that's my question to you. What do you think in terms of the quantitative data? What can be illustrated by bar charts? What can be compared in such a way? Yeah, exactly, the frequency, of course. The frequency is quite easily illustrated by it. If we need a more complicated variant to compare the frequency, we can either use the stacked bar chart. For example, if we take a few distinctive word units per each article, per each document, like it was illustrated in the Corpus Manager, then the correlation between a few words within one article might be illustrated by such a stacked bar chart. Or if the distribution is important, then probably we need to go here. Yeah, the density estimation chart might be used to do you have any associations in the linguistic, in the Corpus Manager? What was illustrated with the density estimation? A bit, but that was a line chart, but here it is the distribution. So if we, if from the Voyant tools, what does it look like? You remember there? Huh? Yeah, exactly. So how this word is used is distributed among the documents of the corpus. Yeah, so if we want to not just compare the frequency of units in the whole corpus, if we compare that, we can use just a simple bar chart or histogram. But if we want to see how this or that linguistic unit is used in a few documents, so the distribution between documents, then the density estimation makes sense to be drawn, to be used. Coming back, as for the pie charts, what do you think? How many variables is considered to be maximum to be added in a pie chart? But I do believe that even here already it's not so illustrative. So probably if we have 8 or 10, a bar chart seems a better choice. As they say that if there are just 5 or fewer variables, then it's quite a good idea to use a pie chart because it would show this distribution. If discussing different ways of linguistic analysis that you used with open libraries, there was clustering, topic modeling, sentiment analysis. What do you think? In which case pie chart can be used to illustrate the results, to illustrate the data? Have you had the time to try out those methods of analysis? It was lecture 8, I do believe. So you remember that we did some clustering, clustering the documents, the types of text within your corpus. Then we tried to do some topic modeling, figuring out the keywords per each of those clusters. And then, in addition, separately, we did some sentiment analysis to figure out the attitudes towards these or those theories or trends in the research area. So what do you think? Pie charts, what can they visualize as the results of those types of methods?
Or you show different types of speech.
Yeah, part of speech tagging, that makes sense. Sure, especially if we speak about content words. I do believe that it's quite reasonable to use the pie chart to illustrate the results of sentiment analysis, because normally they are counted within the Likert scale. So there are 5 attitudes from totally positive to totally negative. And so that if we follow the unwritten rule that it's better to use a pie chart in contrast to a bar chart, if there are fewer than 5 variables, seems like a pie chart can illustrate, can visualize the results of sentiment analysis quite successfully.
Pie chart is very manipulative because we receive it don't like real data. The idea that illustrates 15% don't like 15% numbers.
Okay. Yeah, that's an important thing, that I do believe that pie charts are normally used in presentations, not in scientific articles, because they are more just.
Presentations we can't use it in scientific papers.
Yeah, that's true. In scientific papers, so they tend, if they need to compare something, either to draw the bar charts or even the the density estimation, because it already has more information inside. So there are so-called scatter plots that show the connections between these or those variables. So in our cases, probably those would be some keywords. What do you think? So coming back to the sentiment analysis, topic modeling and clustering, what do you think? Which of those can be sufficiently illustrated with scatter plots? Exactly, yes. So within clustering and topic modeling, that would be, and normally in the articles, in linguistic articles, we have those scatter plots showing the connections, the easiest way to illustrate the vectorization process, showing the connections between clusters and keywords of those clusters. So if you want to add the results of topic modeling in your presentations of your projects, you can take them either from the Open Libraries analysis or from the Corpus Manager. Then you can illustrate it with scatter plots, because I would say that this is a kind of 100% in addition to a bar plot and density distribution that would be added in any linguistic article nowadays, the results of the distribution. The heat maps, they're a bit more sophisticated, so I do not ask you now to use them in your projects, but perhaps anybody remembers we had this heat map illustrating one of the topics that we discussed previously with you. Any associations? Elections, okay. How would you comment upon that? If we take the elections kind of illustrated by a heat map, how would it be?
Different states. And the color is a percentage of different people.
Exactly, yeah, that might be so. And we had the example of machine translation illustrated with a heat map, and normally the results of neural machine translation can be illustrated by a heat map showing again the percentage of importance of this or that units compared in two languages. So here one language would be vertical, the other horizontal, and the connections might be shown weighting the most important things, the most important units of the phrase or the text for the translation. Okay, as for box plots, again we can here it might be considered as a bit harder than a bar chart if we need to compare some inner parameters within this or that distribution. What else can be added in your project is a pair plot, again quite often used in the linguistic research, because in this case, if you use this library, then you will get immediately the results of the distribution of some keywords within the documents, within a few documents, and simultaneously the scatter chart would show the clusters of the keywords within those distributions. So the pair plot kind of helps us to look at the same documents within the same corpus, but from two angles. In the density charts, you can see how they are distributed within the corpus. And then the scatters, the dots, show the correlations between those documents within the corpus. But again, this is kind a bit more challenging. Yeah, so probably within your project, I would say that you need first of all to illustrate the most frequent terms, I would say not just words, but terms or formulas for your for your corpus that can be done with the bar chart or density distribution. Then second, you can figure out the clusters with different topics relying on the results of your using of the open libraries or relying on the corpus manager, and it's quite reasonable to illustrate it with scatter plots. And finally, you can with again bar chart or pie chart illustrate the results of the sentiment analysis. So just a few of such illustrations would be quite enough, but here you have something more complicated as well in addition. Yeah, any questions about those graphs, those charts for linguistic analysis? No, right, okay. Then as for SQL, in fact, I was in two minds whether to mention it in our course or not, but here seems like in addition to those BI tasks, it can be mentioned. So in general, this is the language that is used to work with some data storage. So if we have huge tables with a lot of data there, not just data sets like corpus of like corpora of texts, but if they are structured, then SQL is normally used to figure out information from such data storages. So in with easy operations, it looks a bit like Excel, but the main thing for SQL is that we can compare different tables with various features, with various parameters within the same operation. So if we take the easiest operators, select from, then it would help us. So here is, if you at home follow this link, you will get these databases as as a few examples, just to try out the basic operators. So select is the main one. If you use the star sign, that means select everything from a particular table. So here there are a few tables with different parameters as I mentioned. So if you run the code, then you get the whole table, which is called customers. Then just to filter something, you can add here that you need to get from the table all the information where the parameter city, here it is, the key city, refers to Paris or London. So if we filter like this, then we get only the lines that correspond to those keys. Then you can order by, that's here, order by city, for example. So here instead of where, we will add, order by. And so then we will order this. Why not? Order by city. So no filtering. It would be like this. As you can see here, it is in the alphabetic order. But the hard things, the why SQL is used, comes with different different aggregation and with using a few operators joining some of the data from the tables and comparing it with various parameters with other tables. So this is additional. You do not need to go deeper into it, but just for you, if you want to once try it out, you can use this online tool just to get to know the main operations. This is SQLite, which is the easiest version of SQL to work with data storage. So now let's discuss what is important for you as the end of semester is looming. So let's discuss your projects and how you would visualize the results. So let me share first of all the task with you. I mentioned at the beginning that it would be available, the task itself, on the site from this Friday, because so after this class on Friday you will get not only the task for the 10th lecture where I ask you just to draw one chart, doesn't matter which one, just to try out the libraries. And then so for the next 2 weeks this pre-task or the final project would be available for you, and you will have 2 weeks to complete it. I would ask you probably to complete it before the 16th of December for me to have 1 day to look through your projects and to share in the chat who gets the credit, yeah, for you to get the credit itself at the last class on the 18th of December. Nevertheless, I want to draw your attention that on the 18th of December we do have the lecture. However, you don't have any tasks already, you just get the credit by completing the final project. So as for the project, I would ask you to make a presentation and share it in PDF, including the following things that would reflect what you did during the semester. So at the introductory slide, I would ask you to describe your corpus. So you need to note down the number of articles and the sources where you took those articles. As you remember, we discussed with you in lecture 4 different platforms that can help us to search and to extract information from scientific texts. And then also within the introductory slide, I would ask you to share 2 links. So first of all, the link to the archive of your articles in PDFs, not the TXT document, but the whole archive with all the articles in PDFs, as well as the link to your Google Colab notebook with your code from lectures 7 to 8. In fact, you already shared it with me within this particular task 7 and 8, but let us add it to this final presentation as well. Make sure that the access, that I do have the access following those links. Then, as for the research results, I would ask you to share them within this presentation, drawing some charts. You can either take them as screenshots from the Corpus Manager for the distributive analysis and for the diachronic analysis from the Google Ngram Viewer tool, the things that we discussed in lecture 9 and you did as the home task. You do not need to take all the screenshots that you got from that analysis during task 9, but you choose something that is valuable. And then you add something from today. So you are welcome to draw 2 or 3 more charts illustrating what you figured out, what you found out. And so in total, probably it would make something from 6 to 7 slides with those charts illustrating the results of different types of analysis based on different tools. And finally, on the last slide, you need to interpret those results, that data that was illustrated, with your own conclusions, figuring out that, okay, as a result of this project, I found out that this or that theories, terms are more or less frequently mentioned, that, for example, some distinctive features of the documents show that this or that formulas or numbers or something is mentioned more or less frequent. Here I would like to emphasize once again that if you work mainly not with textual data but with something like this, then you probably need to use regular expressions. They were mentioned in lectures 7 and 8 to search for particular signs, to search for particular formulas or whatever, yeah? Because if you just use the frequency tools, they probably won't show you the results. Unfortunately, if the formulas are presented in the article as pictures, it's harder to figure them out. Nevertheless, probably if you use the regular expressions, at least the usage of signs or letters or particular letters as variables in the articles would be figured out. What else is important here to bear in mind, that for the analysis with the samples of code, you use your corpus as a whole TXT document that you prepared within the pre-task 5. However, when you use the corpus manager, you can use this archive of articles in PDFs to compare particular documents, particular articles to the rest of the corpus, somehow to get this opposition between, for example, different schools, scientific schools or whatever, to illustrate it. So once again, mind that in Google Colab probably you upload just the whole corpus as TXT, because it's important to have TXT here, and to save time we do not transform all the documents into TXT. But when you work with Corpus Manager, you upload there, as done in task 9, the corpus of separate documents in PDFs that gives you some additional data to analyze, for example, the distinctive features of particular articles. And so you add, in fact, here to the charts or in the main part of the presentation, those results that give you some food for thought, that give you the data for interpretation in the conclusion. So that would be the final practical task covering the next 2 weeks. And so after the next lecture, you will get just the test on the theory added, but as for the practical part, that's all. That's the main thing that you need to do. Any questions about the final project and about the visualization tools?
Do we need to just show the graphs, or we need to just describe and write some text about each grade?
You do not need to write about each of the graphs and charts, because I will try to kind of interpret them by myself, but then you need to write the conclusions on the final slide concerning the whole picture. Yeah, that okay, you got this or that impressions, you proved this or that hypothesis, that okay, this theory is reliable and this is not, that you found out something additional, that okay, perhaps some kind of term or classification is mentioned a few times in the corpus, so should be paid more attention. Perhaps it's not discussed in our scientific school, but might be considered as well in your research. So something like it. So as text, you need just general conclusions.
Will there be an example of someone's final project?
Yeah, I can share something like it, a presentation within this task. Yeah, right. But I ask you not to follow it just step by step, because I'm sure that, first of all, of course, we come from different scientific fields, so the results, yeah, would be different. And of course, I do believe that each of you has some kind of your patterns on mind, so you're welcome to add anything, but I will share an example as the beginning step. Right, so now will you in pairs discuss which of those charts can you already use if you have done your home tasks or a part of them? Which of the charts are you going to use in your presentations? Is it clear what you need to discuss? So in pair, I've either already collected the corpus or just listened to the lectures and have the vague idea what you need to do, or you probably have done all the tasks. So would you share now in pairs which types of visualization, which charts are you going to use in your project? At least now, what ideas do you have? So take it about 2 minutes to discuss the visualization tools. Okay, right, so which of those charts were mentioned in your dialects? What are you going to use in your project? This is about the distribution, the estimation of distribution. So that was mentioned, that was, yeah. The density estimation. Okay, so any questions about after the discussion? Any questions about the project or the charts to illustrate the data, the results? I would say that the most often used way is scatter chart. So if you draw those dots, of course, that wouldn't be that would not give the numbers of those vectors, but this is the most commonly used way to illustrate the groups of words, how they are grouped. And I would say that this is the basic one, and in most articles on NLP you would come across it. Because even if they have kind of an article on language learning, the distribution of the different levels of language, so from A1 to C2, it would be illustrated with those scatter charts. Any other questions? Okay, so if not, so you have everything for the project you will have from Friday, so you will have approximately 10 days to complete the projects, to complete all the dates before all the tasks are available. But we still will have 2 more lectures, and I'm really waiting for you here. So next time we will discuss in general what is stylometry. It's branch of natural language processing, figuring out the authorship of different texts, because it is possible to figure it out, and seems as it is mostly impossible to figure out the generated text. It's even easier now to go from the styles of the authors. So we will discuss literature issues, we will discuss the networks of characters, so trying to focus not on scientific articles, but on literature, yes, or something like to relax a bit. And as for the last class, you are welcome to bring your credit card books, yes, not credit card, but that's your, как зачетки-то будут, что-то выскочило у меня. Who knows, yeah, your diaries, your school diaries, and so you will get your credits, but we will have the lecture. It would be devoted to the different architectures of bots, because we have bots absolutely everywhere, and I have already invited 2 of my colleagues from 2 different research projects with whom we work out and pilot educational chatbots, so they will show with me the architecture of the bots just for you for the future if you are interested once in launching a bot or in researching it, or we will share our experience, okay? Right, no, you don't need credit cards, so just do the projects please, bye-bye.